All right, folks, I don't say this lightly. The world feels like it's cracking apart at the seams. And let me know if I'm the only one who's feeling this way. Overnight, a 7.5 Richter scale earthquake, mega-quake, rattled the planet that was so hard, scientists are now sounding the alarm of a 1,000-foot mega-tsunami that could slam right into America's West Coast. I'm talking California. Entire cities could be swallowed up. Seattle, Portland, Northern California gone in minutes. Is this the warning shot of the big one? Guys, is this biblical? At the very same time, chaos erupts in Russia. A top minister inside of Putin's own cabinet just went rogue on live television, exposing the truth about Russia's collapsing economy. After decades of Putin projecting strength, we're watching the cracks in real time. So could this be the beginning of a coup, the unraveling of the entire regime? And if that wasn't enough, right here at home, prosecutors, they just blew open a $100 million Social Security fraud. A Florida nonprofit and its leaders accused of looting disabled and special needs victims. These weren't just numbers on a page. These were people's lifelines, gone, exploited, betrayed. So think about this. The earth is trembling, Russia's unraveling, and America's most vulnerable are left broke, all hitting at one time, guys. This ain't just chaos. This is clearly a warning, because in this video, we're going to break down the connection, the mega-quakes that are rocking the Ring of Fire, and of course, the terrifying tsunami simulations that scientists do not want you to ignore, the shocking split between Putin's inner circle and why even his own ministers are starting to rebel right now, and the fraud scandal that's so absolutely despicable. It just bankrupted thousands of disabled Americans. And what it means about the real system itself, guys. You're going to see exactly why I'm saying chaos is everywhere and no one is safe from it. Now, if you appreciate the news updates, please take a second, hit the like button for the video and subscribe. I really appreciate you. So, ladies and gentlemen, the word of the day is simple. It's chaos. Not the kind that you kind of scroll past on social media. I'm talking about chaos that shakes the ground beneath your feet. Chaos that cracks the Kremlin wide open, and chaos that robs America's most vulnerable citizens blind. In just the last 24 hours, we've witnessed 3 events that should stop every single American, every single one of us right in our tracks. And let me know where you're watching from, even if it's not from America. Number one, the earth itself is roaring. A 7.5 earthquake ripped through the Drake Passage, shaking Argentina, Chile, and even Antarctica, guys. Like, this is one of the largest mega tsunami warnings that scientists are saying that this could one day send a 1,000-foot wave barreling toward America's west coast. So imagine Seattle, Portland, San Francisco swallowed whole. Unbelievable. Number 2, we got to talk about this Russian minister from Putin's own cabinet just turned on him on stage at Russia's biggest economic forum. Maxim Reneshtikov admitted that Putin doesn't want the world to know. Russia's economy is collapsing. And when Putin's loyalists start breaking ranks publicly, that's not just a crack in the facade. That is the first tremor of a possible coup, guys. And of course, right here at home in Florida, a fraud that's so absolutely disgusting. It makes Bernie Madoff look like a street hustler. Guys, $100 million stolen from a nonprofit that managed funds for the disabled, special needs families, SSDI, Social Security beneficiaries, their lifeline completely wiped out, while the thieves flew private jets, built breweries with the stolen money. Earthquakes, coups, and fraud all hitting at the same time. This is why this moment feels completely different, because while President Donald J. Trump is projecting strength at the helm, the rest of the world is completely shaking, literally and politically. Now, I'm going to walk you through it all today, one by one, but stick with me, guys, because the deeper we go, the clearer it's becoming that this chaos is not random at all. Clearly, this is a warning. And most people don't even realize this, but Medicare plans, they're not static. They change every year. Benefits expire, doctors shift, Costs are creeping up. Some doctors are in network this year. They're out of network next year. And yet millions of people, they stick with the same plan because they just assume that nothing's changed. That's how people get burned every single year and lose thousands of dollars. This is why I partner with Chapter. This is why I partner with Chapter. Their team stays ahead of all of these shifts so that you're not blindsided. Now, one viewer told me in a previous comment said, I thought my plan was fine, right up until Chapter found me a better one with lower costs. Hey, when I get comments like that, it makes me just feel really good that I was able to connect someone with something that bettered them, if that makes any sense, you know? So ask yourself, do you really want to discover these changes now, or would you rather discover it when it's too late? You see what I'm saying here? Now, most people, they're already calling the number at the bottom of your screen right now because nobody wants to get trapped by these expiration dates that are coming every single year. Phone numbers down below, 909-563-8279, or you can visit askchapter.org/Ron. Guys, let's talk about the truth that's happening right now. The earth just unleashed, arguably, one of the scariest things in a long time, because this wasn't just some tiny tremor, folks. This was a 7.5 magnitude earthquake tearing through the Drake Passage, this stretch of water between South America and Antarctica. And let me tell you, scientists are completely rattled. I mean, we're not just talking about one quake. Within hours came a 5.1 aftershock. After that was a 5.7 quake rocking Japan's coast and a 6.0 shaking Russia's Kamchatka region. These are 3 different continents, 24 hours, and the Pacific Ring of Fire is lighting up like a Christmas tree. Now, you tell me what this sounds like to you guys, all right? And here's where it gets even more terrifying. Scientists are now warning that, one of these mega-quakes could easily trigger a 1,000-foot tsunami along America's Pacific coast. That is not a typo. A wall of water taller than the Empire State Building could be headed toward California, our Pacific West Coast of America. I mean, you want to talk about a national emergency. Everyone would have to be evacuated out of California, at least California's immediate coast, for miles. Now think about the gridlock, the highways that would literally be flooded with people who are trying to escape in that type of emergency. Now, according to a Virginia Tech study, the Cascadia subduction zone running along the northern California up through Oregon, Washington, and into Vancouver Island has a 15% chance of a magnitude 8.0 or higher earthquake within the next 50 years. Now, that's not some far off doomsday fiction. That's like a flip the coin within, many of our lifetimes kind of situation. Makes you wonder, why a lot of those folks are building bunkers so that they can survive these types of situations. So if that fault line ruptures, coastal land could suddenly just drop 6 feet. California could pretty much just break off the United States. Entire flood zones would expand instantly. Cities like Seattle, Portland, and towns all along the Northern California area, they would be underwater in minutes. Some areas would even be permanently flooded. Entire beaches and shorelines just wiped off the map. Now, Chile already scrambled to evacuate coastal regions after the 7.5 hit. Tsunami alerts were issued and then pulled back. But ask yourself, folks, how many times do we need these warnings before the real one hits, before the real one strikes? Now, I'm going to ask you right now, do you really feel like the earth is trembling more than usual? I mean, is it me or are you feeling that way too? Is this just another cycle of quakes, or are we seeing the buildup of something bigger, maybe something that could ultimately rewrite the map of America's West Coast forever? Guys, drop a yes down below if you believe the big one is coming, or drop a no if you think scientists are just overhyping this thing. Because folks, as terrifying as this all is, while the earth is shaking beneath us, another kind of quake just hit Moscow. And it wasn't geological, it was political. So while the earth is rattling on one side of the globe, on the other side, Russia's political ground is shaking just as violent. And folks, this may be the most dangerous quake of all of them. I mean, at the St. Petersburg International Economic Forum, the crown jewel of Putin's propaganda machine, meant to showcase Russian strength, something unthinkable happened. Maxim Reshetnikov Putin's own Minister of Economic Development broke ranks. Not in whispers behind closed doors, not in some secret memo. No, he stood in front of cameras, power brokers, international leaders, and flat out said, Russia is on the verge of a recession. He called it economic hypothermia. Wow. Economic hypothermia. That sounds pretty severe to me. I don't know about you guys, but that is the kind of language that you use when a body is dying. And when a loyalist inside of Putin's cabinet admits the Russian economy is freezing to death, that's not business as usual, folks. That is a tremor shaking the Kremlin from the inside. And he wasn't alone. Elvira Nabiulina, head of Russia's central bank, doubled down on that. She admitted the so-called war boom has run out of steam. Factories are maxed out, workers stretched thin, inflation's climbing. She's been careful for a decade, but this time she rang the alarm bells. Now, of course, others scrambled to cover the tracks. Finance Minister Silanova essentially brushed this off, saying that the slowdown was expected. Banks and the bank chiefs, they were admitting that things were a little bit rough, but they, still tried to spin it, blaming some high interest rates, inflation, a too long rumble, basically saying that the ruble was too low. In other words, do not panic. We've got it under control. But guys, make no mistake, this was a public infighting at the top of Putin's regime. Now, for years, this message has been very clear: unity, strength, stability. But now, Putin's ministers, they're on stage, they're contradicting each other. They're exposing some deep fractures and fissures in the system. So the bigger picture here is this. Inflation's near 10%. Interest rates are around 20%, crushing businesses. Oil revenues are down 20%. Russia's so-called national wealth fund, it's been cut in half since the invasion. Brain drain, nearly 1 million workers fled since 2022. And amid 2020 and mid 2025, polls are actually showing that 40% of Russians are losing faith in the war. Now, if you pile that on top of Putin's purges, generals arrested, ministers being sacked, suspicious deaths of oligarchs falling from windows, suicides after being fired, and what do you have? You got a regime that's running scared, paranoid, bleeding stability. So here's the question. If Putin can't even keep his ministers in line at his showcase economic forum, how much longer can he actually hold Russia itself together? Now, drop your thoughts down below, guys. Do you think that this is the first tremor of a coup in Russia, or will Putin stamp it out before it grows? Because while Russia's shaking from the inside, we got to take you back home to Florida, where the most disgusting scandal that you're going to hear this year just erupted. And now, while the earthquakes and Russia cracks, we got to talk about something that's even closer to home. That's huge. This is a betrayal that is absolutely so disgusting. It's going to make your blood boil, guys. So, breaking news out of Florida: federal prosecutors just unsealed an indictment exposing a $100 million fraud scheme. And who were the victims? They weren't billionaires. Not the corporations. No, it was the disabled Americans, folks. I'm talking special needs families and communities. People relying on Social Security trusts, SSDI, these folks. So here are the names that you need to know. Leo Joseph Gavani, age 67 of Clearwater, and John Leo Whitkett, age 60 of Tampa. These men ran the Center of Special Needs Trust Administration, which is a nonprofit supposedly created to safeguard the money of most vulnerable people in our society. And at its peak, this trust managed over $200 million in assets across 2,100 different special needs trusts nationwide. And so families were under the impression that their loved ones were protected. They thought that their loved ones were safe. But behind the scenes, prosecutors are actually saying that Giovanni and Whitkett, they were treating those funds like their own personal slush pile. Now, allegedly, all of this is allegedly, guys, from 2009 to 2000 actually till this year, 2025. They allegedly siphoned off cash that was meant for disabled beneficiaries, and they blew it on real estate, private jets, a brewery, luxury travel, personal bank accounts, even paying off their own debts. Meanwhile, families checked their bank accounts and they were handed fraudulent statements with fake balances, lies, papered over to keep the scam alive. So it really does sound like that Ponzi scheme that, do you guys remember that Ponzi scheme with Bernie Madoff like 10, 15 years ago? They had a whole series over that. Anyway, and by February of 2024, the whole thing collapsed into bankruptcy with more than $100 million missing. Now, folks, think about that, okay? You got families that had entrusted their children's lifelines, money to pay for care, for medical treatment, for survival, and then these criminals stole it for their own luxurious lifestyles. The charges: wire fraud, mail fraud, money laundering, bank fraud, false bankruptcy declarations. If convicted, some of these counts carry up to 30 years in prison each. Do you think that these folks should be thrown in jail? And if you add all of this stuff up, right? Yes, they could spend the rest of their lives behind bars. Now, you let me know. Do you think that that's fair? Is life in prison even enough? I mean, because no matter how many years they get, no matter how many assets are seized, the reality is those disabled families, they're never going to get back what they lost. The trust is bankrupt. The money is gone, and their futures have been stolen, right? So federal officials, they called it, cruel as it is criminal. I call it pure evil. I mean, these folks were depending on Social Security and whatever their families squirreled away for them, right? And it's a stark reminder that when politicians tell you fraud in Social Security and disabled programs and SSDI is rare, don't believe those lies. Fraud is everywhere, not just in Social Security, and clearly this case just proved it. So, guys, drop your thoughts down below. Should these men spend the rest of their lives in prison, or should the punishment be even more harsh given the lives that they destroyed? Because here's the bigger picture, folks. I mean, like, from earthquakes to coups to fraud, chaos is striking from every angle: natural, political, financial. So I want to step back just for a second because I want to look at the bigger picture here, because these aren't just some isolated headlines. These pieces of the puzzle, they're putting the world on edge. So on the one hand, nature itself is clearly unstable. And beyond that, I mean, you got mega-quakes, tsunami warnings, the ring of fire lighting up like never before. Scientists are saying 1,000-foot walls of water could one day crash onto America's Pacific coast. That's not science fiction. That is reality knocking on the door. But on the other hand, you got foreign governments, they're unstable. Putin's Russia, the so-called strongman state, showing cracks in real time, ministers breaking ranks, admitting recession, warning the economy is collapsing under war. Their spending and their sanctions, they can't keep this up over in Russia. And so when a regime that fragile controls nuclear weapons, that spells danger for every single one of us. You see what I'm saying here, guys? Now, I'm not saying that this is going to cause World War III, but hey, I wouldn't put it past. Then, of course, right here at home, our own institutions are unstable. The very people entrusted to protect Social Security funds or disabled Americans, looting them dry, over $100 million gone. Families betrayed, futures destroyed, Social Security fraud. I mean, do you see the pattern here, guys? Nature, governments, institutions, they're all shaking at once, all showing cracks at the exact same moment. And so here's the difference. While chaos spreads elsewhere, President Donald J. Trump, he's projecting strength. He's calling out fraud, hammering Russia, preparing America for whatever comes next. But even with that leadership, we can't deny the reality. Chaos never stops testing this country. So the real question is, are you ready? Are you ready for the quake, for the coup, for the fraud? Are you ready for Social Security to be bankrupt sooner than later? I mean, and the next shock that nobody sees coming, well, folks, it's not about if, it's about when. Now, I want to leave you with 3 questions, and I want every single one of you to answer in the comments, because this isn't just my show. This is our conversation. So here's where I want to leave it to you, because this isn't just about watching headlines fly by. This is about what you believe America and the world are heading into. All right. Now, number one, on the earthquakes and tsunami warnings, do you believe that the big one is coming to America's West Coast in our lifetime? Drop a yes if you think scientists are right. Drop a no if you think it's just hype. On the Russia front, is Putin's grip finally slipping? I mean, like, is this the final tremor of a coup inside the Kremlin? Or does this so-called strongman still have enough fear left to keep his ministers in line? And of course, on the Social Security fraud, is life in prison enough for men who stole $100 million from disabled Americans who really, for the most part, all they had was Social Security, SSDI, and whatever money their family put aside for them? Or should those men be in a harsher punishment for a betrayal that's this kind of cruel? You know what I mean, guys? Chaos is everywhere. From earthquakes to coups to fraud, the world is shaking. But here's the truth. America doesn't break easy, not when we face reality head on. So, and not when we call out corruption and betrayal, and not when we stand together united. So hit the like button, smash subscribe if you haven't already, and share this video with someone who still thinks that the world is business as usual, because it's not. So guys, if today proved anything, this chaos never stops testing us. So I'm going to see you next time. There's a video popping up that YouTube thinks you're going to absolutely love. Click that video and I'll see you on the other side.